Good evening, I'm Peggy Scott Laborde and welcome to Steppin Out, spotlighting the New Orleans area's arts and entertainment scene. Seated at our table tonight, Poppy Tooker, host of the weekly program Louisiana Eats on WWNO Radio, and heard statewide as well, right?
Absolutely.
Very good. Ian McNulty, restaurant writer for the New Orleans Advocate. Hey, Ian.
Hey, Poppy.
Good to see you again.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Hello. And Alan Smason, editor of the online Crescent City Jewish News. Hello, sir.
Glad to be on the menu.
Absolutely. And we are going to Bywater tonight.
We're going way downtown. We're going to the
downtown,
other side of the railroad track because that is where it is happening these days. And one of the new restaurants that's open just less than 2 weeks is a place called Oxalis. This neighborhood is so crammed with restaurants that there's one on every corner. You can walk from restaurant to restaurant. You know, there's Pizza Delicious, where they're also having Shake Sugary. There's Maurepas. Well, I knew you would love this sign, Peg. So what do you think? How do you pronounce that? Is it Ekes?
I think I would say Ikes.
Ikes?
I think
well,
I would say
that
Ikes.
just gives you an indication of how everything old is new again. Because that must have been a real happening spot in 1860. But now it is a really beautiful restaurant. It's very romantic inside. You go there, all of these separate rooms where you can have private parties, and there's a gorgeous outdoor patio where there's a beautiful brick fireplace, and those are all candles burning in the brick fireplace. It was gorgeous. And then you sit down and, oh, well, they brought me a little bitty Ramus Gin Fizz in like a little cordial glass. It was just such a little happy way to start the meal. One of the best things is the Somme, the Beau Somme, which is butter leaf lettuce with tomato jam, and oh my goodness, yes, that is pork belly. There's beautiful salads. They're frying food particularly deliciously. There's a very unusual sweet potato poutine. I've never had it before with sweet potatoes, and they aren't fries. Instead, they've got cheese in it. It's like a goat cheese. It's completely different. It was one of my favorite dishes. And they have veggie options. Now, doesn't that kind of look like a pork chop or a tuna steak? It's actually a cauliflower steak with a little beet puree.
Creative.
Oh my goodness, it was delicious. Really lovely. And I think we're going to see more cauliflower steaks on menus. Then we can go straight back to one of the best ever burgers in the city. Incredible, and those hand-cut homemade French fries.
I'm looking at the fries.
Crispy, yummy, and then a step up from the burger, we've got the hanger steak. It was really good. They're open 7 days a week, starting at 4 p.m., and they're right there on Dauphine Street and Louisa. And they're actually across the side street from Booty's Street Food. Another new development, okay? Then, you know, recently, the Dave Matthews Band was in town this week, which always reminds us of Ann Churchill, because she's their road chef when they go on the road in the summertime. So that is actually our homegrown rock star chef, Ann Churchill. And she has just opened up a really special little place. It's over Feelings Cafe, and it's called Bava. Now, kale chips. Everybody's supposed to be eating kale chips. Those have a little cashew butter dressing on them. They were the most delicious kale chips I've ever put in my mouth. The entire menu is all vegan and vegetarian. That was the most incredible Waldorf salad with kale, apple, cucumber, and a chia and macadamia nut dressing. It is so good. It is so rich. It tastes like it's sinful, but it's all good for you. The tamales, they're vegetarian, but they're perhaps some of the best tamales I've had in town. There's a beautiful quiche with a little salad on the side. They do have a liquor license, so you can have wine with your dinner. There's a crunchy crab cake that just about killed me. And it's right over Feelings Cafe, so when you walk in and out, you're on that beautiful balcony that overlooks that exquisite courtyard. Now, you have to pick when you're gonna go see Ann, because she's only there Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights from 6 until 10
So make
p.m.
reservations.
Make reservations and make the time to go. if you have to wait a little bit for a table, you can wait in the bar at Feelings, or you can have to have an after-dinner drink in the bar at Feelings, and that's one of the loveliest bars in the French Quarter too. So actually, the Bywater, not the downtown. You know, us uptown girls, it makes us confused.
Great soup too.
Yeah.
I was
my
there.
God, that split pea soup, incredible. So now we're going to go down market a little bit. We're going to go over on St. Claude to this very unusual food operation, which is called Baracho, and it's at Cajun's Pub. Now, there's a lot of good things to know about this place. First, there's an outdoor patio where you can sit and dine, and they also have a little inside dining room, but most of the eating goes on inside the bar at Cajun's Pub. They are serving from 5 p.m. until 4 a.m. Those are all like homemade pickle things. The thing in the middle, I don't know what it was. It was an organ. It said, do not eat, not for consumption. But you know, we're on the other side of the railroad tracks there, so it's like Morgus works there. I'm not sure. Okay, so they 5 p.m. till 4 a.m. and if you live in the neighborhood, they have delivery until 1 a.m. Okay, so there's the Baracho bratwurst. Then we have an Italian sausage with mayo, roasted tomato, and peppers. And then the thing that knocked my socks off, the lamb merguez dog with preserved lemon mayo, artichoke cream, tomato, lettuce, and feta. It was really, really, really good. And they have all sorts of unusual bar food. They have fried chicken livers, can never eat enough of them. They have a full stuffed baked potato dip that they make. There's buffalo wings, there's pulled pork on a brioche bun, there is a veggie plate, and there's a burger also, and it's just really kind of cool and fun down there on St.
That's
Claude.
not too far from the Healing Center, is it? It's just a few blocks
Just
off.
a few blocks.
Yeah.
You got to keep going downtown.
That's
That's all. You know, just keep going towards the 9th Ward.
Do you think a lot of this, and asking you and Ian on this, is brought on by this sort of the New Orleanians post-Katrina of settling in that Bywater area?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, across St. Claude used to be like no man's land, and now people are buying and renovating on the other side of St. Claude. So once the streetcar starts running, there's going to be no stopping the Bywater.
Also, that St. Roch Market, and I know you've talked about this in the past.
Opening
that is
any
gonna be
minute,
so
as I
exciting.
understand.
And
Yeah.
this is sort of led by St. James Cheese.
And that's one of the
Okay.
many partners, and also Cleaver and Company, one of the partners in it, and that is right across from the Healing Center. And then, of course, in the Healing Center, there's the food co-op. Downtown, the place is just bustling with food.
Very excited. Thank you very much, Poppy. And anyone who watches our show knows that Mr. Alan Smason always has a lot to talk about because the theater climate these days is so hot. But you know what? A girl's got to eat. So, Ian, let's talk about before the theater, darling.
Right. Well, this
menus.
ties in really well with what we were just talking about. I mean, this wave of restaurant redevelopment and just kind of renewal in general across the cultural scene of New Orleans. And as you know, and as you alluded to, that is just shining so bright right now in the theater world. Just drive down Canal Street, the Sanger Theater all lit up, gorgeous, the Joy Theater across the street, the Civic a few blocks down, our Le Petit Theater back again and just so refurbished. I mean, this is really exciting times in the theater scene, and theater and dinner, of course, go hand in hand. One of the things that we looked at in the New Orleans Advocate in our food coverage recently was the way that restaurants are responding or reacting or benefiting from this influx of people. If you go downtown on a big theater night, especially when the 2,600 seat Sanger is rolling, there are a lot of people downtown. The energy is just terrific. If you were downtown this week for the Dave Matthews Show, I mean, I've never seen so many pairs of boots walking around Canal Street. It seemed like everybody who owned a button-down shirt was downtown going to check out that concert. And lots of them were out eating beforehand. The dinner theater scene is not exactly new. Muriel's, of course, was a pioneer in that in the modern epoch on Jackson Square there, and they still do a great prefix. They'll get you in and out for your show at La Petite in particular, or any of them down there, but they've been specializing that for a long time. But we kind of looked at some things that other restaurants were doing now that we have this resurgence, this boom with so many of them operating. And one I thought was particularly interesting is M Bistro. That's, of course, the restaurant inside the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, which is the closest restaurant really to the Sanger. And, you know, this is a place that is kind of invisible from the street. You kind of have to know that it's in the hotel. You go up the elevator, around the corner, up a staircase, down around and down a staircase, and there you have what kind of looks like an old supper club. And of course, they have jazz music there. Jeremy Davenport plays regularly in the Davenport Lounge, and many other acts. And the restaurant itself has tailored itself to the shows. They'll often redo their menus, if you can see here, as a playbill. So, you know, you have your Act 1, your Act 2, your Act 3 instead of your 3 courses. The wait staff will be kind of coordinated. The managers tell me that they kind of coach up their staff on what's playing in the theater so that they can kind of engage with the customers, you know, before the meal. Make it part of the experience to truly be part of that dinner than theater kind of thing, a night on the town. A new place that just opened right nearby is Marty's. That's down on Rampart Street, of course, a new place with a very old name. But this is, of course, the old Marty's from the 70s and 80s. People may also remember it as the Peristyle and the incarnation it had through the 90s.
Wolf's briefly.
Wolf's briefly, yeah. And then now, just opened this year, Marty's. Patrick Singley from Gautreaux's fame, of course, opened this up. And this is right across the street, basically, from Mahalia Jackson Theater. So he told me he tailored the operation specifically to try to lure that pre and post theater crowd. So they open at 5 o'clock for dinner every night now. They stay open late, especially when they know the theater is running across the street, and have that great bar up front. If you remember anything from looked at Peristyle, same kind of way.
And valet parking, I understand.
Yeah,
which is very important.
Key. That's key. Yeah.
And raw oysters.
Yes, oysters are terrific there. Now, Sainte Marie Brasserie is a place that also has been around for a few years on Poydras Street. It kind of presaged that boom in the downtown area. When it opened up, it was like, wow, this is a kind of a new kind of thing for this area. And then it kind of filled in around it, really. I mean, they kind of anticipated it all. And right next door to St. Marie is the Civic. So, you know, it's not the Sanger or the Joy, but they do lots of shows there, especially concerts. We're also theatrical works comedians, and it's kind of become a place for before or after.
Look at that drink.
Yeah, they'll even coordinate their drink specials to what's playing. That was a Mr. Darcy cocktail for, of course, Pride and Prejudice last fall. And again, this is another place where the managers say they try to manage the dining room around the dinner cycle so that the theater cycle rather, so that they know what time the curtain calls are. They'll remind people, hey, by the way, this thing starts in 10 minutes. And then finally, Tableau, which is, of course, the most coordinated of any of these with the theater scene because it shares a building with La Petite Theater. It was part and parcel of the redevelopment, of course. And this is a place where, you know, if you haven't been through it yet, it took over portions that you will remember from the theater. You wander through upstairs. It has a series of dining rooms and a bar. They coordinate meals with the theater. Groups can dine upstairs, walk directly from the bar or the restaurant into the balcony seating area. It's really quite a 1-2 production of a night, like right there in that one corner. I just love the way it has reanimated that part of Jackson Square.
And you know, when it gets a little warmer, checking out that second floor balcony, has one of New Orleans' best views of Jackson Square.
A view of Jackson Square, that oral architecture of the bands playing down below. You're almost at rooftop level with the Cabildo next door, and then just looking out over the river. I mean, these are great times to be alive in New Orleans because we're bringing so much back that has been here, kind of waiting for us to polish again. It's
and
really
the utilization of that space at Tableau, where the balcony is, that was the dressing room.
Yeah.
And they moved the dressing room. You know, there's still the full Le Petit Theater. You don't have what was called the Children's Corner anymore, but this is a much better utilization, and it helps save Le Petit.
Yeah,
so
and an incredible redevelopment. I mean, every day now you have, you know, people eating and drinking on that corner. The windows are open. Just for people passing by it creates a much more dynamic atmosphere.
Very
right
lively.
there.
All
and just a couple quick tips too, if you are doing pre-theater dining. Just remember, hopefully you make reservations on a normal basis. If you don't, absolutely make them, because everyone is coming downtown for these events. Don't think just because you're trying to get in to dinner at 5:30, you can just walk right in. Everyone's trying to do that on the big theater nights. Pick carefully. A lot of these places will have their pre-theater dinner menus selected for quick service, but if you don't, just stay away from meats with bones and them things that are going to take a longer cooking time. Go for shared apps, things like that can be turned quickly. And just, think punctual. Leave a little earlier. You don't want to be playing beat the clock at the beginning of your evening. You want this to be a nice time on the town. So just, consider the parking. And really, if you haven't been downtown to see what happens on these big theater nights, it's really amazing. I mean, it is a very, very lively downtown scene, so it's going to be fun to be a part of it. Just take a few steps to plan it out, and you'll have a great night.
Good advice, sir. Thank you. And speaking of theater, Mr. Smason.
They know how to do this in New York so well, and I'm glad that a few restaurants are picking up some tips. Very good. I want to talk a little bit about Under the Boardwalk. A few years ago, Rich Arnold was involved with a couple of shows, the Four Seasons and the Beach Boys. He assembled a coterie of very excellent male singers to accompany him, and the Beach Buddies were born. And when Rich took that idea to Gary Rucker and Kelly Fushi, there was no doubt excitement at Rivertown Theaters. It meant a chance to appeal to a more broad-based group that would not be necessarily theater-centric. But besides that, Mark Fushi, Kelly's husband, was already in the group. So now called the Big Easy Buddies, I think they made the deal right then and there. The Big Easy Buddies are Rich Arnold, Jonathan Brannon, Peter Elliott, Mark Fushi, Frank Van Hoven III, Scott Sauber, and Michael Taravella. The four buddies, they rotate in and out throughout the weeks that they're performing, so you're not going to see any one show necessarily on a weekend that's going to be exactly the same. The show's outstanding. The four-part harmonies last Sunday that I saw were beautiful. The charisma and outreach of the buddies to the audience makes the show very interactive. The show's divided into two acts with an homage to the doo-wop singers of the 50s and early 60s first off, like the Drifters, the Marcells, the Crew Cuts, and Dion and the Belmonts. And then they move into a Motown groove with medleys featuring the music of the Temptations and then the Four Tops. And there's even a little bit of Marvin Gaye and then the Turtles to close out the first act. And then Act 2 starts off right there with the Beach Boys, part of the Beach Buddies scene here locally. They do songs like I Get Around, Surfer Girl, and even Good Vibrations. And then the buddies leave the stage. A special girl group comes out on stage while they change their costumes. And there they are as the Four Seasons. And again, emulating Frankie Valli, they pull out just about every major hit that sounded differently by the Four Seasons. The costumes, especially those silver lame suits that the Big Easy Buddies wear early in the show, are especially fantastic. Kelly Fushi and Linda Fried worked on that. The show's already selling out. The reason why is evident. It's a good value, a good production. Once again, Rivertown Theaters of the Performing Arts. They've added an extra show on Wednesday now, the 23rd of January. Check out the schedule and check out the show. It's worth it. Across town in the Bywater, the Queens of King. That's going to be shown for the next 2 weekends. This is a Jonathan Marez Productions. Last week we talked about the fact that a show was canceled, Farragut North, and Jonathan had already rented out the space at the Always Lounge and Theater. So Jonathan's brilliant because he grabbed two Big Easy Award winners for Cabaret, Dorian Rush and Lisa Piccone, and offered them the opportunity to put on a Carole King tribute show that they call the Queens of King. And how appropriate, because just last Sunday, Beautiful, a musical on the life of singer-songwriter Carole King, opened on Broadway. So with pianist Natalie True, they have songs like I Feel the Earth. They have songs like One Fine Day, A Natural Woman, all these wonderful Carole King songs, many of which were culled from the Tapestry album, of course. There are medleys as well that they do. And, this was an album that was on the charts longer than any other record at the time, and I think only has, in more recent times, been beaten by Michael Jackson's Thriller and also The Bodyguard as far as the soundtrack. So if you love Carole King and beautiful harmonies, it's a great show. What we have here are really two excellent singers. They put their own spin on the Carole King songs, and they encourage the audience to participate. Natalie True is a wonderful accompanist, and it would be a natural for this to be nominated for a Big Easy Award for Cabaret next year. So get in while you can. 2 weekends only from now until the 25th of January. Now, over at the Sanger Theater tonight, we have Rain falling, but it's not the kind you may think of. It's the Rain, the Beatles tribute band that's going to be at the Sanger Theater. It's a true multimedia experience. You have 4 people on stage playing, if you will, the parts of the Beatles. There's no canned music, no soundtrack. The performers are actually singing live. They're playing live. They're not lip syncing. And the cameras that are there that are capturing the event make it feel very much like it's an event that's happening now live, whether it be the Ed Sullivan Show, Shea Stadium, whatever they may be pretending, perhaps even recording the Sgt. Pepper's album. As a matter of fact, the program lists the performers by what they play and not whom they portray. All in all, they have about 30 songs played throughout the performance, and only a few have some of those chord changes that are necessary to end in a Broadway-type show. The show will run all the way until this Sunday weekend, so keep that in mind as well. Also, coming up in Lockport, Louisiana at the Bayou Playhouse, it's wonderful to be able to bring back Freddie Palmisano. Freddie Palmisano, our great singer, our great songwriter and composer, has left behind so many wonderful jewels of shows. Among them was Cinderella Battistella, that he wrote with David Cuthbert, who I think we've heard of on this program before.
Know and Love.
And Bob Bruce. And it's going to be shown again at the Bayou Playhouse. Cinderella Battistella, with the music and lyrics of Freddie Palmisano and the book by Bob Bruce and David Cuthbert, still stands the test of time. Perry Martin, who is the eminent director, is putting it on at the Bayou Playhouse in Lockport. It's about an hour's drive, but well worth it to go see this for the kids. You will love it. And again, this is not a show just for kids. It's a show for adults who love kids shows. And some of the references may be a little bit over some of the kids' heads, but I think you'll enjoy it as well. And speaking of Perry Martin, you know, Perry was the original director for Spud McConnell's The Kingfish that he put on many, many times. It was done last year, again, if you remember, for what would have been Huey Long's 100th birthday. Well, John Spud McConnell will be coming back to the Joy Theater on Canal Street. Tickets will be starting for him to do his portrayal of the Kingfish. If you haven't seen it, again, a real treat, and the venue at the Joy should make it a really great theatrical experience. Speaking of theater, I had a good fortune last weekend to check out some of what was going on at the Southern Repertory Tennessee Williams New Orleans Literary Festival Southern Bacchanal. And here you go. Here's the Grand Dames of New Orleans, and you can take a look for yourself. And one of the ladies in the middle there we may recognize, our own Peggy Scott Laborde, Francine Siegel, David Hoover, Nell Nolan in a blonde wig, and right past Peggy is none other than Trixie Minx, Janet Daly Duval, and Margaret Bergen, who was so wonderful in all of their roles as the Grand Dames. Margarita Bergen. And we had also the 2 directors, Southern Rep and Tennessee Williams Festival, A.M.A. Hayes and Paul Willis. Gabrielle Reisman, who was an eminent playwright, is now back in New Orleans again. She was featured at the Bacchanal along with David Hoover, who starred with you on the Grand Dames. And then afterwards, everybody sort of let their hair down, and they had a toga party with music provided by a well-known DJ who will remain nameless. Anyway, I just want to let you know, I had a good time there. We had a wonderful, outstanding time playing music, etc. Also, Sutton Foster, we got to remember, she's coming back to New Orleans on the 27th of January. There's a few opportunity, days between now and then to check out the show. Broadway at Noka presents it, Mark Cartali Productions. This is a picture that somebody, I can't tell you who, snapped during the show, but she is just a fantastic performer, and you will not want to miss it. Again, I think tickets start at $25 and they go up to $100.
That is such a deal, because you think about what you'd be paying, my goodness, in New York.
And she will be performing with Seth Rudetsky, who did not get to make it with when Alice Ripley was down here because of the bad weather up in New York, but Alice did a great job, and we'll talk about that sometime too.
But by the way, quickly, while the Beatles are in town, tomorrow night at the Montleon, they're having a Beatles look-alike contest. Okay, and it turns out, and I only learned this recently, that that's where the Beatles were supposed to stay instead of the Congress Inn out on Chef Mentor Highway.
And I'll tell you, they didn't really stay at the Congress Inn too.
Oh, really?
I have the story on that too.
But the Montleon passed on it because they were afraid of all, all the attention and the screaming girls. But interesting. Okay, well, let it be a cliffhanger. You have to tell us that sometime. Thank you, Alan. And now it's time for our Artist Spotlight. Tonight we are featuring Abstract in the 1950s by Andrew Bucci. Originally from Vicksburg, Mississippi's native Bucci earned his bachelor's degree in architecture design at LSU, and after serving in World War II, studied at the Académie Julian in Paris. His style is considered abstract expressionism. He uses vibrant color to illustrate figures and landscapes. A selection of his works is on view through January 25th at Cole Pratt Gallery on Magazine Street. Visit coleprattgallery.com for more information. And don't forget to visit WYES.org to see our online calendar, including info on WYES's upcoming Chocolate Sunday event. New Orleans Magazine's quiz queen, Julia Street, has a question for us. Last time, Trent Pui gave us the names of the two Saints costumed mascots. One a big-chinned football player, the other a St. Bernard dog, Sir Saint, and Gumbo. We'll miss you all. Now tonight's question. Over the last 2 years, 3 parading crews have switched from the West Bank to the St. Charles Avenue route. Name at least 2. Email your answers to steppinout@wyes.org. Our prizes: a Louisiana Life magazine subscription, a gift certificate for Vianne's Tea House, offering their culinary and gourmet tea experience for 2. Louisiana Eats, yay, by Poppy Tucker, published by Pelican. A signed copy, I might add. Lucky winner. Okay, and a pair of tickets to see Kingfish, starring John Spud McConnell at the Joy Theater, either next Friday, January 24th, or Saturday, January 25th at 8 p.m. Visit thejoytheater.com website for more information on that. And now our picks. Poppy.
Well, anybody who's been a Top Chef addict while it's been on TV, the viewing party at Emerald's Restaurant in the bar area this Wednesday, the 22nd, 8 to 10 p.m. It's the place to be. There's going to be a complimentary tasting of the winning dish, and they'll be serving the NOLA Quickfire specialty cocktail.
All right, thank you. Ian.
A new event, first time out this year, the Ferret Oyster Jam is on Sunday afternoon from 11 a.m. till, say, 8 o'clock. It's at the Ferret Public House, which is a bar. It's outside in the parking lot. They're going to have food. They're going to have these sort of Radiator spin-off bands, including the Raw Oyster Cult, great name. And they're going to have oysters done every which way, including lots and lots of them raw. Word on the street is 15,000 oysters have been ginned up for this event. So it's going to be quite the jam. So it's on Ferret Street on Sunday, 11 to 8, ferretoysterjam.com for the information.
Thank you. Alan.
Taking a page from Pippin, the Louisiana Philharmonic Orchestra is going to present the Cirque de la Symphonie. It'll be a performance including acrobatic acts, etc. from the circus. You will love it. Tomorrow night, Saturday, the 18th at 7:30 p.m. at the Mahalia Jackson Theater.
All right, thank you. And now my picks. Let me tell you all about them. First off, we have some live history characters, and they are known as Roscoe, Lee, and Abity, and they'll be returning to the Historic New Orleans collection. That's on Royal Street for the Occupy New Orleans Civil War Voices from the Civil War exhibit tomorrow from noon to 4 p.m. You can call 523-4662 or visit hnoc.org for details. New Orleans Friends of Music presents Misha and Sippa Dichter on duo pianos next Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. at Tulane University's Dixon Hall. Tickets are $30 and may be purchased by calling 895-0690 or at friendsofmusic.org. And don't forget the release party of Rick Barton's novel, Courting Pandemonium. It's been republished. It's a signing and discussion next Thursday. That's over at Garden District Books. And we've also got the Tops of the Town, and that is next week with New Orleans Magazine. It's the best of what's going on in New Orleans Magazine, the Tops of the Town winners. That's next Thursday from 7 to 10 p.m. at the New Orleans Public Railroad. That's right there in Chapatula Street. It's a beautiful building. Rebirth Band and Bucktown All-Stars and lots of food and drink. Tickets of $40 in advance and $50 at the door. Go to myneworleans.com for more information. And don't forget the Rex Den Tour that YES is involved in. Go to wyes.org for more details about that too. We'll tell you more next week. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Quick.
What happened?
Ran out of time.
Wow.
No. What happened to this? What do you mean? Why aren't we hearing the credits?
We ran out of time.
That was it. That was the show. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Well, you know.
Yeah, but